If I were to rewind the clock and start photography from zero in 2026, I'd remind myself that expensive gear doesn't matter and certainly doesn't equal better photos. I'd remind myself that comparison is the greatest thief of joy in creative work, and what makes someone else's photos look amazing isn't necessarily what will make yours look the same, and that's okay. The things that will make your photos truly unique are what naturally draws your attention, so sometimes we should be trying less and not more to capture amazing images. So if you want to take some of the best images of your life over the next year, whatever that means to you, I wanted to share 11 mistakes that I've made over my photography journey and some things that I continue to remind myself today whenever I'm in a creative rut, even 20 years into the process. Expensive gear is kind of stupid. I recognize the irony in saying this as someone who has spent more money than I'd like to admit on new camera kits, but it is true that every camera is ultimately just a box, and some boxes just have fancier buttons than others. At the end of the day, your camera is just a tool to create your vision, whatever that is for you, but it will not create the vision for you. You're ultimately going to take amazing images because of you and your creative eye, not because of the gear that you have. Now, yes, it is true that camera gear can help you, and there are situations that a certain lens or a certain sensor is going to give you an advantage. But as a general rule, especially if you're starting out, whatever camera you have is more than enough to get started with. What you should focus on at the beginning is just what you're capturing and the intent behind it, rather than getting lost in the fear of missing out behind all of the camera gear and the latest releases that seem to come out every few months. At the most basic level, if you have a wide-angle zoom lens that can kind of capture all ranges and genres of photography, then I think you're at a really good starting point for the next year. Watching another video won't save you. Now, of course, YouTube or Instagram has some amazing photography tips or inspiration things that you can then take out into the field. But I think that there is a point of diminishing returns and a line where people kind of get stuck behind, in that they feel like they need to learn something before they're ready to go and do it. But in reality, that's kind of just kicking the can down the road of actually making the mistakes for yourself, figuring it out on the fly, and then coming back to a video in the future with a new set of eyes and a new set of experiences. Because it's really easy to feel like you're making progress by watching hours and hours of photography content, but if you never actually start taking photos, then your photos could never get better, no matter how many videos you watch. So if you are serious about taking really great photos in 2026, I would make sure that you are intentional about spending more of your time capturing photos than learning about the process of taking photos. There are no secrets to any of this stuff. Someone just might seem like they have a secret only because they've been doing it longer than you. Settings don't matter, but this does. When I first got into photography, I was drinking the Kool-Aid of manual mode and thought that if I was able to get perfect manual settings that I've all set up myself, then I'll have a great photo. But in reality, that is absolutely not the case. Camera settings matter to the point of having a nicely exposed photo, but just because you have all of your settings perfect, it doesn't mean that you have a nice image. Because if I just took this like lens cap and a photo of my face, even if it was perfectly exposed, it's not going to be a good photo because it just doesn't really have anything interesting to say. So what does matter more than camera settings is your composition. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the rules of composition. There are tons of great resources online that just run through some of the summaries of them, but this is ultimately what will make your photos feel a lot more interesting, and how you'll see a noticeable improvement in your work is when you begin to think about and apply compositional rules. A great starting point for this is to just go and find photos online that you think are really interesting and then kind of reverse engineer them. So zoom out, don't think about the camera settings necessarily, but think about why that particular photo draws you in. What is it about the lighting? How are the subjects framed? How are the subjects posed, whether that's like a bird or even a person? Was it taken in low light? Is there not a lot of details around, just kind of minimalist? There's lots of different aspects of composition that each of us are drawn to. So if you can begin noticing those things from images that naturally draw you in, then you can hopefully apply those ideas when you're out in the field and shooting. The caveat to this is kind of like with settings. Just because you have a perfect composition technically, it doesn't mean that that you're going to have a great photo. So it's a balance of using composition, but only in situations where you have something that you feel has a purpose, a story, or gives you a specific feeling. So rather than just aimlessly going out and shooting, try to ask yourself whether what you're framing up has something unique about it before you go and take that photo. Otherwise, you're just going to be taking a lot of snapshots and not creating that art that you might be looking to create and share. Light is everything. Now, if you're like me, you probably have two categories of photos. You have the set of photos that you only share to your mom, and then the photos that you go and put on your website or something like that. The only difference for me between those two photos is light, because my mom will see all of the photos, my website will only see the ones with the nice light. Most of us understand this concept, like everything is more beautiful at sunset or sunrise, but even light can change the feeling of a scene between like a gray overcast day or a foggy snowy scene. There's so many ways that light will impact the mood and feel of our photos that can make it a lot more interesting. If we're just shooting photos without thinking about light and how it's affecting our subjects or the overall scene, we're ultimately going to be left with photos that just aren't that captivating, no matter how good your settings or composition is. A really easy way to understand light is to just look at shadows in everyday life. Often the places that there is no light is what makes the light that is around look a lot more compelling. So if we can start to understand that relationship just by noticing it in everyday life, I think you'll be able to line up a lot more interesting photos going forward. Shoot what comes naturally to you. Now, a couple points ago, I mentioned the concept of taking art or making your photos look like art. And I think that we're almost crossing into like a pretentious zone there, because like at the end of the day, aren't we just trying to have fun with this? Because we don't need to be artists or something like that necessarily. Because the best way to capture images is not to try to think of what an artist would want, but to just capture things that you're naturally already interested in. For me, my entire photography journey has kind of been skewed towards the outdoors, like hiking, climbing, mountain biking, that kind of thing, because those are all activities that I've grown up loving and doing just out of passion. So when I can take my camera with me, it's just so much more enjoyable, and I find that I can create my best images there because I'm capturing something that I'm excited to share. I think that it's really important that we don't start from a point of which photo or genre is going to get the most attention, but to instead think about what unique perspective do I have on an activity that I have some experience in. Because if we can capture images from our own passions, that is when we can translate those feelings through the photos and people will be more interested in seeing them. Find others. Some of my closest friends over the years have come through photography, so it's really important to make sure that your photography journey is not a solo sport. Try to find someone, whether online or in your community, that you can go out and take photos with or share your images with, just so you can get second opinions or see how someone else is capturing the same scene. I find it so interesting going out with a friend and we're both taking photos of the same thing, but we walk away with totally different images. I often find a lot of lessons in that I can then take forward, because I think it's important to have someone in your life that can recognize and judge your work as a fellow photographer and not someone like your spouse or your parent or something like that, who is kind of going to be biased and always say that you took a great photo. Remember that likes online are not a representation of quality. If you post some of your favorite photos and they basically get crickets online, please do not let that deter you in taking more photos. Some of my favorite photographers hardly get any attention online, but they still have amazing images. And the reason they don't get attention online has literally nothing to do with the quality of their work. None of this is personal. It's just kind of the nature of social media, where it's like quick entertainment or quick value. And sometimes those more nuanced images or things that you find really compelling may not translate to someone who's just kind of like on the bus looking for some kind of dopamine hit. So don't take it personally if your images don't get the likes that you're hoping for. What I'd recommend instead to help gauge the level of your work is to first try submitting your photos into different photo competitions. There's ones for landscapes, wildlife, portraits, like pretty much everything you could think of. There is a competition for it, so you can submit your photos and then see how you end up stacking up compared to the others, as well as you can try to submit your photos to magazines, and if you get published, that's a pretty good sign that your work is pretty awesome. If you want a career in photography, learn video. The truth is that I do not know any working professional photographer who does not also offer video to their clients. I think the reason for this is that like everything online is kind of moving towards video on social media, where like social media is more of like the video platform, and then your website or your business profiles may be more of the photos. I don't think that this invalidates photography at all. I think it's still an in-demand thing, but I think people are wanting to diversify the way that their products or their brands are represented online. And to do that, you need both photo and video. Fortunately, this is kind of a win-win for everyone because as you, the photographer, you can then charge a lot more for offering two different services, and that client can then just go to one single person for all of their media needs. Likewise, pretty much everything that you learn as a photographer also transfers over into video. There are, of course, some exceptions to that, but if you already have a strong foundation in photography, moving over into video isn't going to be this monumental task for you. An example of this being true is with myself. I started as a photographer. I wanted to do photography, but in order to get attention, to get clients, to get any of those things, I had to begin making videos such as this online. Otherwise, no one would see my photos. So it's kind of like this weird double-edged sword, but I do think that it's very important that if you want a career in this, you do have to learn video. It's just the way things are moving. Budget for experiences over gear. Kind of going back to one of my earlier points, you can have really expensive gear, but if you're not going to interesting places, your photos may not look as interesting either. Now, of course, you can still take amazing photos in boring places. That's not what I'm trying to get at. But what I am saying is that it's a lot more fun and it's a lot more exciting to take photos in new areas and go to those destinations that feel interesting to you. So because of that, I think it's important to put part of your photography budget towards the experiences that allow you to take better photos, because that is a huge part of this. Like, for example, you can buy like a $5,000 camera body, but that $5,000 could also pay for a trip to some place almost anywhere in the world that you'd be hard pressed to get a bad photo with any camera that you brought. I think that no matter what you're shooting, this can be beneficial, especially after you feel like you've maxed out shooting in the radius that you live in, basically. It can be a lot more exciting and motivating and kind of like reignite the passion of photography when you get to go to a new destination and capture all of these places and moments that you wouldn't get to in your everyday life. Be okay with sucking. I think a lot of us creatives are naturally perfectionists, so when we begin taking photos and they don't perfectly match up to our expectations, it kind of feels demotivating and we kind of slowly don't want to do it anymore. So I think it's really important to adopt the mindset of it's okay that I'm not where I'm at yet, but I will get there, and it just means I have room to improve. Every single person you've ever seen started from zero, exactly where you may be right now. But the beauty in that is that you have so much room to grow and develop and learn. And that's pretty exciting if you ask me. So if you're ever feeling like demotivated in your progress, just look at it through that lens of everyone starts somewhere and you're going to get better over time as long as you keep with it. Remember, you only see curated work from others. As I mentioned before, comparison is the greatest thief of joy in creative work, and especially so in photography. I honestly will go on Instagram sometimes, scroll through for like 5 minutes, and I begin questioning why I even bother taking photos because there's so many good photographers in the world. But the reality of all this, and the important thing to remember, is that we only ever see the curated work from every photographer. We don't see the hundreds or thousands of rejected photos that didn't make the cut for that one published image. If a photographer has tons and tons and tons of amazing photos, you're like, how are they possibly doing it? It's because they have taken a lot of photos. I have not met a single photographer that can just take 1 or 2 shots and then that is it. These are like National Geographic worthy photos. They are almost always taking hundreds or thousands of photos when they are out doing something, and then only a handful of those images end up being shareable when they come back. So although we individually see all of the mistakes and missed shots that we've taken, remember that everyone else that you see online has the exact same situation. There is no world where there are photographers out there that only take those best curated images that you see, and those are the only photos that they walk away with. It's just not the case, and it's not how this works. Now, there's one final bonus point I wanted to add to that, and it is to make photo projects for yourself. Because at some point along the line, you're going to feel a little bit bored in what you're shooting. You've gone to the same places, you've used the same gear, you've kind of are like, what's next in my journey? And so that's when I think that setting up projects for yourself is really worthwhile. A project can be pretty much anything with a specific goal. A personal example of a photo project is a few years ago, I was feeling kind of like bored with photography, wasn't feeling that motivated with it. So what I ended up doing is going on to some Facebook groups and reaching out to some other climbing communities where I wanted to go and photograph ice climbing and do something that I've never necessarily done before. So I made it a goal to spend a week going out, meeting new people, shooting a sport that I don't really have any experience with, and seeing what kind of images I could take from that. And looking back on those photos, they're still some of my favorite images that I've captured over the last few years, just because it was a project that was naturally interesting to me and kind of tangential to an interest I already had in rock climbing. Now, since you've made it this far in the video, I would love if you could add to this conversation down in the comments below and share something that you believe is really worthwhile and impactful to improve people's images. Think back to yourself when you were first starting and what would you have wished you known earlier that would have leveled up your photography even faster. I'd love to know all that stuff down in the comments below. Finally, if you are looking to take your photography more seriously in 2026, then be sure to download my free photography essentials guide, which will walk you through all of the most core skills that you need for success over this next year. You can grab a copy of that for free in the description below. But with that, I'll see you next time.